Great Debaters Contest is brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.
Hello and welcome to the quarterfinals of the Great Debaters Contest. I am Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bishar.
The question that we seek to answer today is, should the state ban aid agencies from using overly graphic and sensational images for promoting suffering?
And to handle this very complex debate, we only brought you the best, beginning with the ladies of BG Ngandu, who say they have nothing to say to their opponents. Let their silence speak loudly. And of course, the gentlemen of Strathmore are just simply here to bring awesome to this debate. First proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Shali Mungai Bishop Katimu Ngandu, firmly proposing the motion that states the state should ban aid agencies from using sensational or overly graphic images of suffering. Aid agencies are humanitarian organizations that help suffering people. For example, the UNICEF, AMREF, CARE International, Plan International, Red Cross, to name but a few. So some of these overly graphic images are inhuman, causing psychological torture to people. I hope most of you have heard of Kevin Carter, a journalist who died 3 months after taking a photograph of the Sudan famine. This is him taking a photo of a child crawling towards the UN camp with a vulture following close, ready to devour that child immediately it died. Is this what we want? They bring about political incitements. Now, every Kenyan here suffered after the 2007-2008 elections violence. When you use these photos, they were all over the internet by United Nations, by other agencies, and they brought political incitement of Luos who wanted to call Kikuyus and what have you. Is that what we want? We get more harm than good by using these pictures. They are not necessary to mobilize massive humanitarian action. For example, does the United Nations mission for Ebola campaign have to use the photo of a dying man? Judges, turn your photos. Does they have to use this to show us how rampant Ebola is? Do they have to use this to show us how people are dying every day? Couldn't they use walks, night dinners to raise funds to counter this situation? Do we have to use this? This is psychological torture. We should not use this. The images show no respect for the dead. A decent death is what everyone suffers to get. You know, you want to die in a dignified way that everyone will realize and your epitaph will be written, this person died with dignity. These pictures mostly are uncensored of dying people whose families have not accepted that their photos should be used. Is that what we want? We add salt to the injury to people who have suffered and gone through much torture. People, we should not use these images of dying children used by the UNICEF to get aids for our funds. We should not use them. Search for more other ways to get action. Search for other ways to recur and to gain aid for agencies. This is torture. Thank you.
Okay, we can now have the opposing team. You have 3 minutes.
I am Valiant Waki, and I have a feeling that I'm going to be slightly disappointing today because I don't have any photos. But what I have, and what I think will let us win, is this: a sound mind. I'm not going to be overly emotional here. I'm not going to be swept by the wind. I'm going to give you the facts as they are. But before I give you the facts, let me tell you a few words that I came across as I was researching for this debate that I found so interesting that I just had to share with you. Number 1, agyrophobia. Number 2, amaxophobia. Big words, eh? Yes, I will explain them soon. Now, here's the thing. I have a bit of a problem with what my opponent just said, and that is she hasn't defined what overly graphic means. Now, while we're here talking about photos making us feel bad, that's sad, right? But what is overly graphic? Where do we draw the line between graphic and overly graphic. Now, this is where those long words come in. Amaxophobia is the fear of being driven in a car. Now, if anybody in this audience, if anybody in the country that is, even, was amaxophobic, then any poster containing a picture of a car would totally freak them out, completely. So are we saying that we should ban car shows because some people will get offended? Now, agyrophobia is the fear of crossing the street. There are people who are afraid of crossing the street. If we were to have a developmental aid agency, and yes, I'd like to point that out, aid agencies aren't only humanitarian, they are also developmental, like the World Bank. So if we had a developmental agency funding the building of amazing infrastructure, including roads, we'd have to show a photo of a bad road and why we want it to look good. But agyrophobic people would totally be scared. That would be overly graphic for them. Where do we draw the line? Where does overly graphic stop and graphic begin? It just doesn't make sense. It's impractical. And here's another thing that's impractical. The state. You see, the motion says that the state should ban AIDS agencies. Which state? Which state? Are we talking about the Kenyan state? Are we talking about African states? Are we talking about, I don't know, third world countries, first world countries? Are we talking about the people who give aid, the states of the people who give aid, or the states who receive aid? It is unclear. It is impractical. Let's not go in that direction, ladies and gentlemen. It just doesn't make sense to say, let's ban these photos, manze. It's not going to be well. No. We can't ban them if we don't know what we're banning. We can't stop these people from doing their work unless we have proper definitions. And as it is, we don't have proper definitions. And until we get them, this debate can't continue. It's impractical. Let's just stop it. Thank you.
Time now for cross-examinations. We will begin with the proposing team. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Grace Washanga from Bishop Gatimu Ngandu Girls, opposing the motion that states that the state should ban aid agencies from using sensational or overly graphic images of suffering. Well, he did say that we have photos and he's not going to be emotional. It's quite unfortunate, people. It is quite unfortunate. Well, in this world, there are different kinds of people. There are people who are emotional. There are people who are not. Kahuya girls have just left the room. It's quite sad. I needed to request them to help me pray for Strathmore, that they may understand the emotional people. There are emotional people in this world. So if you can stand these photos, some of us can't. When I saw these photos, I cried. Maureen, well, she has no idea what is in the photos. She can't look at them. So let me go straight ahead to why these should be banned. They should be banned to avoid usage of unauthorized photos. Valerie Payan, a school principal in Haiti, I quote what she said. "I'm tired of it. It's too much. I know that news outlets took pictures, aid agencies used the pictures, and it enabled people to raise money. But what I see, that the people of Haiti took it as an insult, a disaster, because they had already suffered enough. Aid agencies use the images to extort fame and funds for people. If you were a photographer and you found out that a photographer got an award for taking an overly graphic image, what will be your main target when taking your photos? Overly graphic photos. Patrick Farrell won a Pulitzer for poignant black and white images of the Haitian survivors of the hurricane. I like talking about people of Haiti because it touched me. What they went through, the images being put there touched me. And I'll quote what someone said about the photos. You cannot tune the photos until one is looking at the pictures. One might actually think that it's a movie. Some people will not be convinced by little things. You tell them something small, they won't be convinced. Let's leave those and go to those who will be convinced. Remember, no matter how juicy and how ripe a mango is, some people just don't like mangoes. So if people are not emotional, don't force the emotions in them. Let those who are emotional provide. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes for your cross-examination.
Thank you very much. My name is Jesse Mwangi from Strathmore School. You didn't answer our question. Where do we draw the line? Where? Now, she said the images shown touched her. I read the article too. It was about American journalism, mainstream, not about aid agencies. Now, she has to know there's a difference between commercial media and aid agency media. It's not NTV, it's not KTN. Besides, on this phone, I have a magazine, an AIDS agency magazine. I went out of my way to get it. It was not brought to me on TV. It was not brought to me by anyone. I might be emotional, and I am. I can cry. I'm a man, I cry sometimes. But I went out of my way to get that photo, to get that magazine. We're not saying that you force it on people. That's inhuman. I went and got it. I got it for myself. And there's this quote by a very, very famous philosopher, Silvano Boruso, who says, "If one wills to streak the desert wide and swim through the high tide for the paragon of his mind, let he who has that desire and thirst be quenched." What does that mean? If you want something, you will go and get it. If you don't want, you keep away. Now, these countries need it. She asked about Haiti. My friend will come and explain more in depth on that. Well, they have to help. Kenyans for Kenya. Who would have known the real pain? Who would have known what was happening in Turkana? Who, if they didn't take those photos? When I contributed myself to that cause, when we gave for Kenyans for Kenya, who would have known? Now, they want to tell us that, well, let's take a scenario where they have banned aid agencies from using this media. Let's say, in the case of Mohammed Amin, it was really funny the way she was singing "Heal the World." Do you know where that song came from? If you didn't, let me tell you, the Ethiopian famine. Yes, people were dying. Mohammed Amin took photos of what was happening in the Ethiopian famine. Everybody in the world, many people in the world were touched. The late, great Michael Jackson made a song, "Heal the World, Make It a Better Place." If they can do this, do you want us to go back to where we are from? Tell us the truth. We are Verbo Veritas. We are the word of truth. This is the truth. Take it or take it. Thank you.
My name is David Vilembo from St. Patrick's E10, and I think one of the most beneficial things that I find in M-Pesa is the pay bill, such that you're able to pay for your fees when you're at home. You know, you don't have to go to the bank and queue, and you can also, it's an e-wallet.
Take part in the M Challenge by sending your short song, rap or poem about Safaricom M-Pesa on WhatsApp, and you could win 1,000 shillings in Safaricom airtime.
It is said that an image does not only carry pictures, but it carries a lot of messages. I like it. So now you are telling us that now people are dying in Turkana. So I should go at Hilton Hotel, take a very good photograph of I eating ugali and fish, and say that we should help those people dying in Turkana. Wow. Please, how should we do this? Thank you.
I'm Maureen, and I'm from Kahuya Girls, and I'm going to ask the question to the, I think the second opposer, who said about commercial stations. Don't you think that the aid agencies use commercial resources or the stations to send out their information?
We can begin with the proposing team. You have 3 minutes.
I am Maureen. You asked about us using other methods except overly graphic photographs. And my answer is this. We're not saying that we should not use graphic photographs. We're simply against overly graphic photographs. I'd like to counter my opponents. One asked about the photos are being taken by the commercial media. True that. I've also not seen where an agency is going down to the level taking the photos. But what happens after the commercial agent, the media takes the photos? They hand them over to the agencies. We didn't say that it's only accessed in magazines. For example, this morning, Charlene gave the judges. The judges do not choose to have them. We did not force them to them. They are simply everywhere. They are on our television screens, they are in the internet, they are on the streets, these overgraphic images. In addition to that, I'd like to tell you that they hinder innovation. When these 8 agencies use the overly graphic photos, it has become a norm that we just sit back, we do nothing about it, and wait for foreign aid. Remember the Kenyans for Kenyans. When we decided to take initiative as Kenyans, and we did a very great thing, we are not going to see such another great thing if we don't take it upon ourselves. There is blocked investment. When the aid agencies use the overly graphic photos, it leads to immense negative effects. As we speak today, the Ebola attacks, 7 African countries, names withheld, will not open their borders to other countries simply because they are fearing that Ebola would spill into their countries. I have a question. Then how are these countries supposed to carry out investment? I do not understand. We have arrived at a double crisis, a dissolution to an agreement about what is civilized behavior and the dissolution of faith in the meaning of images, a crisis of politics and a crisis of representation. Given now closely photographs and video have been used to finding those international norms, it is a frightening moment. Thank you.
We'll now have the opposition respond. You also have 3 minutes.
Question, I would like to respond. You said that you were overly emotional, that seeing these images would make you overly emotional. Please note that these images, these overly graphic images, are not displayed on commercial media. The aid agencies have their own media. Now, I, Ron Kipchumba, have a slight problem, a very slight problem, with the definition of the word sensational, or the lack of. Now, what is sensational? Sensational is that which sparks, brings about intense emotion. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Sorrow opens the gate to the soul. It caresses the grace upon which our spirit lies, fuels the flame of life. It makes us more human." Simply put, sorrow echoes humanity. Now, what is the purpose of these overly graphic images? It is to ignite emotion, emotion towards action, emotion towards contribution. These overly graphic images, they are effective. Now, allow me to elaborate. My opponent said Haiti. Well, let's go there. 2010, January 2nd. An earthquake, magnitude 7.0 on the Richter scale, hit. Now, to me and you, that doesn't really mean anything. I mean, 7.0. Earthquakes don't even happen on this side of the world. But through the images posted by World Health Organization, they told the tale all too well. A man's body, I beg your pardon, a man's body part was clamped between rubble and his escape. His torso upwards stuck, and there he lay, whispering his last breath, "Help me." In yet another image, there was a police officer dragging a man by the feet, still lifeless, motionless, to a parking lot morgue. Why the parking lot? Because they had run out of morgues. They had run out of buildings. The earthquake had leveled everything. How are we to know if there is no image like this? Now, the World Health Organization raised $150 million for this specific cause. And please note, that is only one agency. These overly graphic images are effective. Why remove something that works? Overly graphic images and sensational images should not be banned. Thank you.
We'll now get closing statements, beginning with the proposing team. You have 1 minute.
I did not know that the world, in justice and in human character, has come this far. You dare tell an audience such a story? That is so emotional. Some people would get traumatized by that. That you suggest aid agencies use these overly graphic images remains a wonder. That they should be subjected to psychological torture, and that illuminates the dark pasts that make me not forge ahead to my future is still a question. You say the truth lies in the picture. Well, it does not. The truth lies in the heart. You might show me that picture, I'm not emotional, well, I will not respond to your aid. It is not the only way to raise money for aid agencies. We can use other methods. I told you, dinners, walks, and other things can be used to raise money for these aid agencies. We do not need these overly graphic photos. They are simply subjecting us to torture. Emotional, psychological, name it. Do you want more deaths like that of Kevin Carter? Thank you.
Opposition, you have 1 minute for your final submission.
I am back. And I value my audience. You know, I don't think that you, ladies and gentlemen, are so frail as to be traumatized from mere words. Now, maybe it traumatized her, but I don't think it's traumatizing everybody, and that's my point. If something is unappealing to you, that doesn't mean it's unappealing to the rest of humanity. It is wrong. It is unjust. It is so selfish to imagine that because I don't like something, then the rest of the world shouldn't enjoy it. Now, am I suggesting that graphic images are enjoyable? No. But they fulfill their purpose. By me seeing a graphical image, and can I add that I still don't know what an overly graphical image is because they haven't defined it, by the way. But let's just move on with graphical. If I see a graphic image, I will be moved. I know I will be moved to help those people. If my unemotional counterparts won't, that's not my problem. They just shouldn't ban such images. Thank you.
Bishop Gatimu Ngandu girls, a good beginning, but you left a lot of room and you allowed your opponents to punch holes into your submissions. One of your strengths was the use of emotion, the use of pictures and the graphic images. You were able to strongly present an emotional appeal to persuade us that this should not be done.
Strathmore School, the three of you, you think like queens and speak like kings. You know, Aristophanes, an ancient Greek playwright, says the mind of a queen is to be feared. And I think we fear your minds in as much as your boys, you have the minds of queens.
Charlene, I mean, you have been this strong first speaker that we've always had lots of expectations to every time we come up on stage. And I know today you had a bumpy start, we could notice it. Valiant, Jesse, and Ron. I mean, you guys, I don't know what words to use, but that was an excellent summation. I mean, you did well, and I appreciate what you did.
The judges awarded Bishop Gatimu Ngandu girls 75%. Please give them a round of applause. Strathmore School, the judges awarded you 84%. You are the winners for the debate.
Bravo to Strathmore, truly minds to be feared on this stage, but all 6 minds, I believe, are the minds of queens. So we thank them for the great work they've done, and this is how you know we are at the quarters. From us at the Great Debaters Contest, it's goodbye till next time. I am Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyembo.
Great Debaters Contest was brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.